Have you ever heard the tracks which Rick and Bunny from Cheap Trick did for Lennon's Double Fantasy, the demos they did?
I don't think so.
Because as you may, or I thought you would know, Bunny and Rick demoed, the tracks like I'm Losing You and the other one Escapes Me, which ended up on Double Fantasy. Not the finished tracks. Their tracks didn't make the album, but I think there was a box set released probably 2000 maybe, a John Lennon box set, and it included those demos which Bunny and Rick played on, and they're just they're phenomenal. I wish they had made the cut, but
yeah. Me too. It's great you bringing it up. I'm just watching this thing on George Harrison, which is really about the Beatles, but the focus is on George, and it's fantastic, just fantastic. There's one scene where one kid's pulling another kid up onto a window ledge, and I'm looking at it thinking that might be me, because that's where I was.
Okay, so that's Adelaide footage, is it? You're watching?
Yeah, Welcoming.
Okay.
That was welcoming the Beatles in July 1964.
Now, I know that you slept out. I read that you slept out 3 days for Beatles tickets.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that was as much a great part of the experience as anything else, really. It was just Beatlemania, and, I was only 14. Our parents let us do it because it was just sort of safe, and the queue went right around Adelaide virtually, and we were up near the head of it. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday night we slept there, and Monday the ticket box opened and had our tickets.
That kind of stuff is life-changing, I imagine.
Yeah, that and seeing Dylan in 1966 for me, but they're probably the two great life-changing experiences. With the Beatles, it was a lunchtime, and I was outside the school in this little park. I don't even know why I was outside. I think there might have been a school function, and then I had to walk back to school, and I was in this little park, and I had a transistor radio, and the radio jock came on and said, "I'm about to play a song from a band from Liverpool, England, that everyone's talking about," and he played "Please Please Me," and at that moment, I just heard this thing leaping out of the little tiny transistor radio, and it just blew me away. I didn't just like it; there was every part of my body had gone into goosebumps. And,
fantastic.
And I ran all the way to school, and I ran into my classroom, and all these guys were in there, and I held up the transistor radio, and then at this stage the song's long gone, and I just held up my transistor radio, and I said, "Did anyone hear it?" And everyone's looking at me like I've gone nuts, and they go, "What are you talking about?" Except for about 6 other guys who said yes, and we're all talking about "Please Please Me." And I swear to you, by the next morning they were the biggest thing since sliced bread. It was like this wildfire, just went whoosh, and suddenly the Beatles were just huge. And of course Adelaide was their biggest public reception ever anywhere in the world.
Did you attend that?
Absolutely, and all the headmasters and headmistresses of the school, of various schools around the place said, anyone that goes to welcome the Beatles will be expelled. Well, we all went, so they would have had a tough time surviving as schools if they'd expelled us all. It was amazing. Well, it was just incredible.
They played, was it Centennial Hall in Adelaide?
Yes, I did, yeah.
What was the sound like?
What sound?
Okay, so that answers my question then. Just drowned out by screaming is my...
Well, two things. I mean, you would dream these days of using a public address system that they use. I mean, the thing was big enough maybe for the Lord Mayor to give a speech at a garden party.
Sure.
I mean, it was ridiculously small sound system. That's the first problem, and then the second problem was that the girls just drowned out. That's the interesting thing about the Beatles, actually, is that their music was so incredible. The songs were so beautifully crafted, and their harmonies and just the way they played. It was a complete thing. And yet, the very people who were making it all happen for them, buying their records and turning them into the biggest band in the world, didn't listen to them. They come along and just scream.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm being sexist, but with all the girls just screamed. And it's like, well, okay, yes, we know they like you. Why didn't they just scream at the end of the song? But they screamed all the way through the song. And all the Beatles had to do was shake their heads, and the little mop tops just went, and the decibel level would go through the roof. There was only one thing I heard musically, which was Campani. That's it. That's all I heard.
Okay. That was it. 3 words.
I didn't hear love, because by the time they got to love, they just went berserk. But you know what? The thing is, it was an event, and it was great to be there. And of course, we had the records, and the whole Beatles experience was amazing. And then, of course, along came the Rolling Stones and so many other great bands, and then, but for me, before I got into the Beatles, I was already into Bob Dylan. I got into Bob Dylan in 1963. Actually, might have even been 1962 when he had his very first album out called Bob Dylan.